Hey guys, let's take a look at this 2015 Nissan Altima S. The last time I reviewed an Altima was in 2013, so we've had about 2 years for some changes to take place, and we can see what looks different. As you can see, this car is in black. The car that I reviewed last time was in white. Personally, I'm liking the black better. So it's to my understanding this car is exactly like the car that I rented 2 years ago and reviewed, with just minor upgrades. There's no special packages on this car that the other car didn't have. They're both the S model. The key has not changed. We're looking at a lock, unlock, trunk, and horn. One thing that did change though is the horn. In the 2013 model, I complained about the horn being very not manly. This horn isn't that bad. It also has the button on the door here that you can push to lock and unlock the car, lock, unlock the driver, unlock all doors. For the purpose of this video and it being so hot, I'm going to start the car.
Get a free price quote today and
No thanks. So just going from left to right, we do still have the one touch down window, but no one touch up. The other three windows are not one touch at all. You got your lock and unlock, which I find very hard. It'd help if I was looking at it. I find it very hard to use. You're fumbling around, you're feeling for it, you don't know which one's which, and it's not user friendly, but that's just the design. Then you have your window lock. Up here you have your mirror adjustments, which, you know, work. Here's your brightness control and then your reset button for your trip meter. And all the buttons on the steering wheel are still the same. You got your source button for your radio. This can change channels, or it can change things on this screen up here. This changes the pages and goes back on the screen up here. And then there's your volume buttons. And over here on this side, you've got cancel, set, coast, on, off for your cruise control. And then here's some hands-free buttons down here. In the 2013 model, I complained about it being so hard to figure out how to use Bluetooth, and I never actually figured out how to use Bluetooth. In this model, they've upgraded the they've upgraded the stereo just a little bit with this new screen, which the other model did not have. At least I don't think it did. Anyway, in this screen, it's a very easy to access Bluetooth menu, which we'll go into in just a second. Before I do get started in that, though, I want to show you the center stack here. This is the page that I always kept the other Altima on. I like to look at my 25 miles per gallon and my I drove 17 miles apparently over 1 hour. I don't know how accurate that is. I guess it is accurate. Average of 22 miles per hour. Flip the page, audio is off, no warnings. Here's all your settings. Here's a picture of the car for whatever reason. Tire pressure monitoring works after you move the vehicle, and you're back to that page. For this stereo, this one does include satellite radio. I'm not going to activate it because I actually won't have this car very long. I actually take it back tomorrow, so not worth my time, but the preview works just fine, and it actually does have satellite radio, which is something the 2013 model did not have. You've also got your AM FM, which actually picks up pretty well, no complaints. And then you've got your media button for that one in my video. Media button for your phone, and you know, all that cool stuff. In your settings here, there's actually a Bluetooth menu, really easy to get to, and you can turn Bluetooth on and off. You can add phones, a lot easier than it was in the previous year model. So, go back to FM. Your air conditioning controls are still manual, but it works and it gets the job done. It serves its purpose, and I have no complaints. You do still have the sport mode in your Altima S. You've got drive, and then you pull it back one more for sport. It also has a overdrive off button here, which You know, this is one of those cars that's got that CVT. It's I don't remember what CVT stands for. Continually variable transmission. That's it. So you don't really feel the gear changes, and it's really eco-friendly. It's great gas mileage for that. You know, I have no complaints. I really like the CVT. I don't know how it's going to stand up long term. I really don't know anything about these cars long term. I don't know, 10 years down the road, are you putting a new transmission in it? I don't know. I don't know how that works. So, I have no complaints, but this one does have 40,000 miles, which is a pretty good amount for a 2015, and no complaints. It actually drives really well. It shifts. I mean, you can barely hear engine noise, but you can feel the car just taking off, almost like it's an electric car, but it's not. It's that CVT saving gas mileage, and I really like that. So everything else in the car really isn't much to talk about. You've got cloth seats, you've got a couple of lights up here. There's not a whole lot of features in this car. It's a very basic car. And so now we just get to the point where I talk about it. Talk about what I think about it. It does have push button start, which I do like. That's pretty cool. This car, it's not a bad car. It's got a lot going on for it. And, push button start. You've got this semi-upgraded radio that it's not too bad. Personally, the car's not for me. It's a little too cheap. It's a little, I don't know, something about it. It's just too cheap. It's not a very, I don't know what it is. You know how I am. I like nice cars, and this car, not to be mistaken, the car is nice, but it's just not feature rich. It's not expensive, and it's not that I'm saying I only like expensive cars. I like cheap cars that are nice, but as far as the S goes, it's not very feature rich. It's not very loaded out. It's still a really nice car, and this will be a nice car if you're looking to, commute to work or wherever, and you're trying to save gas, you're trying to save money. That's cool. This is the car for you. The issue that I had with the car is there was a lot of road noise, and I didn't really particularly like the road noise. I felt like I probably could have gotten a more comfortable ride out of, say, a Dodge Charger, which is actually what I was trying to get. I may be a little bit biased toward Dodge. I may be a little bit, I don't know what it is. I really like Dodge cars. I like the Charger. I like the everything else. Flip on some lights right quick and make it mad. Just to kind of show you the lights. You do have your signal lights are in the bottom, which I really like that. It kind of separates it from the headlights. Then in your headlights, and the outer light is your low beam, and on the inside is a high beam, which actually makes a huge difference because there are two separate light bulbs instead of one. Now compare that to the Dodge Charger, this is way better because the Dodge Charger doesn't have two separate lights. It has one light with a shutter that comes down to block half the light to simulate low beams. I don't like that. However, this car does not use HID headlights, and they're about as bright as the Dodge Charger because the Dodge Charger uses HID headlights in some trim levels. In the trim level I tested. Same with the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It also used HID headlights, which made it a lot better, in my opinion. So, it's a nice car. It's an okay car. If you're just looking for a car to get you to work and back and to do basic things around town, this is a great car. It drives well, it handles well. The road noise isn't so great. It's kind of louder than what you could find else in the market, but whatever. If that doesn't concern you, this is a great car for you. This car gets 30 miles per gallon on average. That's what I averaged. And 30 miles per gallon is kind of insane. So if that's what you're looking for and you really don't care about having the nicest, best thing on the road, this is your car. It's not a bad car. It's just not particularly my cup of tea. I really like the Dodge Charger, even the basic Dodge Chargers, the non-leather. I don't even care because it looks awesome. And my favorite thing about these cars is these new LED rings that they put around the headlights. If you'll notice, this car doesn't have any LEDs. That's just personal preference. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's just what I like. Tons of interruptions today. I could see my grandma buying a car like this, and possibly, you know, possibly someone younger. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be an old person to buy a car like this, but typically in this generation, a lot of people don't like basic cars. They like, you know, the leather seats and moonroof and all that cool stuff. But it does have a nice stereo system to go with it. I mean, it's up to date as far as that goes. Bluetooth, satellite radio, nothing to complain about there. That alone, in my opinion, makes this car way better than the 2013 model. And you know what? I'll say it again, it's not a bad car. Alright, well, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I kind of slapped it together, and I'm sure you can tell that because I only had about 2 days with this car. But still, see you guys later. I forgot to mention one very important thing about this car. That's a backup camera. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't feel like it's, I don't feel like the screen's big enough. It obviously doesn't have any park sensors because I backed up to that pole back there and it didn't beep. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I guess that's okay. It's nice that it has a backup camera. Would be nice if the screen were a little bigger though. But yeah, another cool little feature that wasn't in the previous year model. You can kind of get a feel of the road noise. It's a little louder than I would call acceptable. You know, most cars, they have a pretty good practice of defeating road noise. This one, you can really hear it pretty good. And I know there's a lot of different factors, tires and everything else. This car has the factory tires on it that came on it. And also the windows are not dual pane like the, you know, like the Charger. You can actually feel the indent on the window where it's got 2 pieces of glass. This one does not have that. Overall, though, it's still a pretty comfortable car. Drives pretty good. Great gas mileage. I know I said earlier I average 30 miles per gallon, and right now I'm at 24, but that's because I've been doing some city driving. So, you know, whatever. I was at 30 earlier, and then, you know, I kind of started driving less good. So I count that to my fault, not the car's fault. Still pretty impressed with the CVT and the gas mileage that goes with it. However, by the way, Dodge Charger gets 31 miles per gallon on the highway, which, you know, I don't know what this one gets actually, you know, EPA on the highway. All I know is what it got in real world testing for me, and so 30 was pretty good. I don't think I've ever seen 30 on a car other than, you know, the other Altima that I had. But, you know, whatever. Still a pretty nice car. It's good for gas savings. It's cheap, so it doesn't cost a whole lot to buy. You know, maybe this is a good first car. That's what I should say. This would be a good first car for somebody. It's not that it's, you know, directed toward a certain audience or anything like that. You know, I said earlier, I like cars that are feature rich. They have leather seats, you know, kind of go big and like a big screen, touch screen, you know, radio and all that cool stuff. That's personal preference, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad car just because I don't like, you know, what it has on it because of my personal preference. So I think it'd be a great first car. It's cheap, it gets a gas mileage, it's not crazy mad powerful. I'm pretty sure it's only a 4-cylinder, so, you know, you're not going crazy, but at the same time you're doing pretty good as far as, you know, everything else goes, gas mileage, etc., etc. So that's cool. All right, well, see you guys later.